Getting started with your Emlid RS rover. In these series of videos, we're going to walk through the step-by-step process of using a network rover Emlid GNSS unit. What that means is we don't have a base station, or we're going to use the base station provided to us by whatever service we're subscribed to. In my case, I've got the 0.1 true RTK network, so we're going to connect our rover to the 0.1 network to receive real-time RTK corrections. To start with, what do you need? Well, the first thing we have is the 2-meter Seco GNSS rod. Now, the Emlid comes with a collapsible rod, which is carbon fiber, but the problem is the collapsible rod can get banged down and the 2 meters goes down to 1.5 or 1.8. It's just not a great setup for surveying. So instead, I've got the Seco 2-meter rod here. We're going to screw this together and put it down. Now the second thing is going to be the bipod. Really, any surveying operation needs a bipod because it's going to allow us a lot more flexibility when we're trying to use this, collect measurements, whatever. So we're going to screw this on. Just above the black handle, and then put this down. The third thing is the Emlid receiver. Now, you've got an RS3, RS2, Emlid Reach, whatever you're using, it doesn't matter, but I've got an Emlid receiver. This could be a Trimble, Leica, whatever. So we're going to screw this on to the top. And what I should have done here is start the receiver before any of this, because the receiver does take a while to fire up. So I'm going to turn this so you can see the lights. I'm going to press once and then hold it, and it's going to start up for me. And you know it starts up because the lights come on. This Emlid receiver is slow. So the first thing you should do when you start unpacking is fire up the receiver, let it boot up while you're setting up your rod and your bipod. Now the last thing you need is a data collector. I'm using my iPhone Emlid Reach as my data collector. And this data collector needs to have some kind of cellular network connection or Wi-Fi internet. You've got to be on the internet with your data collector. Here I'm connected to my home network, Wi-Fi, and I'm also on the cell network. So I'm going to start up the Emlid Flow app, and let's see what's going on here. So these lights are running back and forth, back and forth. That means that this unit is still booting up. So let's see what's going to happen. It's going to take a few minutes, but it's going to fire up. And the last step in this process is going to be connecting to the Emlid head unit, the Emlid antenna, and then we're going to call this properly set up. The last thing we need here is the clip where the phone clips on to the bipod. Unfortunately, mine's been lost to history, so we're waiting on a new unit to ship in, but in sum, we've got the GPS antenna, the 2-meter rod, the bipod, your data collector, which could be your phone or a proprietary collector, and in the end, we're connected to our receiver, which means we have this unit properly set up. We'll call this a success, and in the next video, we will connect our phone to the Emlid receiver and start collecting measurements. Welcome back to our second video on using the Emlid RS3 as a network rover. Now, since we have our hardware setup, let's go ahead and I turn this off, but I'm going to turn it back on. So press it once and then hold it and let this Emlid boot up. You saw the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth flash. And then I'm going to start up my Emlid Flow app. So go into the Emlid Flow on the iPhone, and the first thing that shows up in this screen is the receivers. It wants you to choose what receiver. And if you're having an issue where it's not finding a receiver, you need to make sure that your phone's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi is turned on. So of course we're going to sit here for several minutes and be patient because this thing takes a while to boot up. But you'll see that first of all the big light comes on, and then our Wi-Fi comes on, and hopefully the Bluetooth will come on too. And when these lights stop blinking, then we know that we've got a fully functional receiver. If you need to restart the Emlid throughout this process, don't turn it on, turn it off up here. Restart it using the Emlid Flow button. We'll show you in a few minutes. So we're going to sit here. We're in a nice open area because the Emlid does not like cover. And as you can see, all 5 lights are on. That means we have a full battery. Click on refresh. And the first tip I'll give you is do not connect via Wi-Fi. You must connect this via Bluetooth because the Wi-Fi connection and the in-trip correction do not get along very well at all. And we're sitting here being patient, letting this thing boot up, and it still hasn't found it. So what I'm going to do is close this app. Oh no, here it is. So there it is, Emlid RS3 Rover Beta. Look at that little look at the Bluetooth symbol. You must have a Bluetooth signal. If you have the Wi-Fi signal, the different Wi-Fi lines, disconnect and connect to the Bluetooth. Okay, so let's run through this step by step. So we have the Rover, and a lot of times I have up to 5 of these units cooking at the same time. So what I like to do is click on the name and click Flash LED, and that will flash this head unit and it'll tell me I'm working with the right Rover. All right. Second, go into settings. I've got a bunch of satellites. They're a mix of green and yellow, which means I'm not in a great area. And if you look around where I am right now, there's a lot of tree cover. I'm not surprised they're yellow. We may have to move. Second, PDOP. We have a pretty low PDOP, but it's not great. Solution is float, which means we are receiving corrections, but they're not that good. Positioning mode is kinematic. Tilt compensation is turned off. I don't like using the tilt unless I have to. Now the corrections. We are receiving corrections. The age is only 1 second old, so that means we're connected to the in-trip network. That's all good. And the last thing is we're not logging, which is fine because why would we be logging here if we're not doing Opus or something else? Now, what about the in-trip corrections? This thing says in-trip over Bluetooth, which it should be because we're connected to my phone via Bluetooth. It's the 0.1 network, that's correct, and we are receiving corrections. Awesome. What happens if you are not receiving corrections? Well, that means that you probably have the wrong username, the wrong password, the wrong mount point. Something is not right. So what you should do is go on to your phone and go to app.point1nav.com/login. And because I've got a horrible cell signal here, it's going to take forever to load. I'm going to log in using LastPass to point 1. And I'm going to click on point 1 nav and log in. So point 1 nav has credentials for each device. And I have a device here called Intrip, username, password, And if you want to know the IP address, the mount point, all that stuff, you're going to click on How Do I Connect? And it's going to tell you the true RTK. There's your caster, there's your port number. You want to make sure you are mount point local, because you will not be able to get state plane coordinates without the local mount point. Okay, all of that is taken care of. So my status is good. My in-trip over Bluetooth is good. Base output is off because we're not using this as a base. Logging is not recording, because why would we record post-process data? Wi-Fi is on hotspot, so this is broadcasting a hotspot to us right now. And if we wanted to, we could connect to the NLC home, which I'm going to do that now, just so that, well, I'm not going to do that, but you can connect the antenna directly to your home network, your office network, truck, Wi-Fi, whatever, because we may want to update the firmware. Now the last thing is the settings. So the settings, the mobile data is turned off because we don't have a cell phone chip. Bluetooth is discoverable and on, which is good. GNSS settings. Let's take a look at that. Let's join this network and take a look at the GNSS settings. What I really want to see is all of my networks are selected. GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, all this stuff. The mask and the SNR range default is fine. We are broadcasting Bluetooth, which means that the position is coming right to my phone. And the big thing here is the firmware. Before you survey every day, you need to check your firmware. And it needs to say reach is up to date. If the reach is not up to date, update the firmware immediately, because this thing does weird stuff with the bad firmware. Go to receiver info. I'm calling this RS3 Rover because I don't know. Oh yeah, the serial number is Echo 4 Alpha 7. So I'm going to change the name to Echo 4 Alpha 7. And I do that because we always want to know the last 4 digits of the serial, because we have so many reaches working at the same time. Sounds are on, night mode is off, power externally is off. All of this looks good. So I'm going to click refresh again to make sure I'm fully connected. And I am. And I would say that life is pretty good right now. We've got our settings correct, got our hardware set up. The only issue is we are still floating. And that is because we're in this kind of canopy of trees, and the reach does not like tree cover. It needs a nice broad sky in order to get a fix. So that leads me to my next video, which is going to be troubleshooting connections. So stay tuned and we'll troubleshoot this thing and we'll get our fix going, and then we'll be surveying in no time. Troubleshooting fixes on the Emlid product. There are many reasons why you cannot get a fix with your GNSS receiver. You could have the wrong credentials for your correction service. You could have bad satellite connections because of tree cover, buildings, multipath, whatever. So what I'm going to do here is connect up to my RS3, and let's take a look at what's going on. So if you had no fix, if it said single or only had a few satellites or whatever is going on here, then that tells me there's no correction service at all. And we can verify that by going to in-trip over Bluetooth, and we'll just pick like off. So if we have no fixes, it's going to say single. That tells us we have some satellites, 16 of them, but we're not getting any kind of correction. Now let's go back to correction, and I'm going to pick in-trip over Bluetooth. And I know these are the good credentials because it says receiving corrections. That means you have the username, password, mount point, all that is good. This thing is happy right now. But the problem is that it's still floating. Well, why would this thing be floating? It's because of the lack of satellites. Emlid receivers are very sensitive to a lack of open sky. And, frankly, that's why I'm going to be switching to a Trimble relatively soon, at least for RTK data collection. And I know that we also have some issues because I've got, some satellites in green, but I've also got a bunch of other satellites in orange. And that tells me with the high PDOP, low satellites in view, a bunch of orange satellites, this is not going to get a fix very well. So what can you do to get a fix? Well, the first thing is simply to move around. I'm going to move around and I'm going to take this and look at that. Did you hear that beep? That means we have a fix. Let's go back and check with our device. Well, right now it says fix and it's in green. Well, we do have a couple of satellites in red, which are pretty crummy, but we have a bunch more satellites in green, which means we're in good shape. So when you have a receiver that will not get a fix, step one, check your credentials and make sure you're getting corrections. Step two, move around, get to an open sky, and if you need to take a shot closer to a building or a tree, walk in the receiver slowly. Don't run over there. Get to an open space, walk in slowly. And then, if nothing else, if all else fails, completely restart by clicking on the unit, restart, and having this whole thing restart, and then move your GPS to a different location as it's restarting. That is how you figure out what's going on. That's how you troubleshoot your fix. And if it's not working at all, if you just cannot get a fix, then you may have a bad network correction. You're just too far in the boonies, you have a bad cell signal, something is going on. If all else fails, set up a local base on an NGS monument and then use the base and rover setup, because the base and rover does not require any type of internet connection. It works over LoRa radio, UHF, and the base and rover is the only solution you've got if you cannot get a fix with your network rover. When all else fails, that's your best option, but it's extremely frustrating because it takes so much time, and you have about a 50% chance of someone stealing your base station when you go surveying. So I would say troubleshoot the network as much as you can. If it fails, switch to your base and rover. Okay, so we have our software set up. The receiver is happy and receiving corrections. We have our hardware set up where we have a good signal, good battery life. We got our bipod, we're surveying. Not quite. If you have an incorrect project setting, it will ruin your entire day. So let's go through and let's set up a project. Now, I'm going to click on Survey in the Emlid app, Add Project. I'm going to call this TN Home Project Test. Your initials, and then the description would be recording a YouTube video to show people how to use a network rover. The description can be pretty long. You should put the client's name and the client number. Now I'm going to go into coordinate system. So if I typed in North Carolina, I've got a lot of different options. And you'll have several different iterations of the same datum wherever state you're in. Now this is where it gets a little complicated, right? So we have NAD 83 2011, NAD 27, that's a no-go. Wait a minute, there's NAD 83. This is the old NAD 83 adjustment. 2011 is the newest. 2011. Now, you're going to be very tempted to choose the NAD 83 2011 North Carolina FTUS. But don't. do not choose the FTUS because it will not allow you to select a vertical datum. It's just going to be the basic. So instead, I'm going to pick NAD 83 2011 North Carolina. No FTUS. Next, I'm going to choose vertical datum. And you've got some choices here, right? NAV D88 depth, height, depth. I want NAV D88 height. And I'm going to use the geoid 12B. Well, I think I'm going to use I'm going to use the geoid 12B. That's the newest datum. No, I lie. I'm going to use the 5703, NAV D88 height. What is the difference? We'll have to research that. But it's going to require you to download this if this is the first time using this datum. So let's let this download for a minute. And I'm going to, and I like the NAV D88 height because it gives me the EPSG 5703. EPSG is the standard nomenclature for the datum name. So I can select 5703 in Pix4D or DJI Terra or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And it's going to make this much easier to do. I don't know why the 12B does not have an EPSG name, but that kind of turns me off. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to download this datum. And then we can go in and select other settings. All right, so we have our project name, author, description, coordinate system, vertical datum, and it says here, make sure your base or intrip is in NAD 83 Spatial Reference 2011. That's important. And point 1, local is in the 2011 datum. Distance type is grid. Azimuth is grid. And now what's interesting is it's not letting me choose anything other than meters. So let's take a look here and see if we can find a different datum to use, because it should allow us to do the U.S. survey feet. So NAD 83 2011 North Carolina 6542, correct. Ellipsoid datum is going to be the 12B 5703, got it. Now I can choose U.S. survey feet. So if you get to the vertical datum and it does not let you choose NAV D88, you have chosen the wrong coordinate system. If you go down to linear units and it does not let you choose U.S. survey feet, that means that you've chosen the wrong coordinate system. Be careful. Distance type grid, azimuth type grid north, general settings, degrees, minutes, seconds, and save. Now, once I get my fix back, I can go surveying and I'm good to go. Always be careful of your coordinate system. Always be careful of your vertical datum. If you choose wrong, you will do the entire job wrong. After that, we're good to go and we're ready to go surveying. So how do we measure the first point? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move around our rover because it is, for some reason, unhappy with the fix, probably because I walked away with my phone. Level up the instrument, and remember, when in doubt, you can always restart, you can always try other things. I'm going to turn my phone Wi-Fi off and let it reconnect to the receiver. It says single, now it says float. Let's walk around some more and get a fix because I want to measure a point with you. Let's keep moving. I've got a nice open area here. Let's see if it gets happy. And if I want to see how it's doing, I can click on the satellite button and I can watch this look for green satellites. We are receiving a correction. The corrections are getting better. We have 30 satellites in view. Let's see what happens as we move around. Now we have 37 satellites. Remember, when in doubt, turn off the correction service, turn back on the correction service. Let's give it a few minutes to think, and if it's still not happy, we're going to restart this device. Well, I guess we'll restart. And we know this is restarting because now we have all of these lines going back and forth again. We're going to wait lots of minutes while this Emlid unit thinks about what it's going to do, and then we're going to reconnect. Yes. All right, we're reconnected on the Bluetooth Emlid beta. It says connected. Let's go to status and see what's going on. We've got a lot of red satellites right now, which is a bad sign. We've also got let's take a look. And we can also restart the Emlid Flow app if we need to. So connect, we've got 13 satellites. Let's see how quickly we can go up. Oh, lots of green right now, looking better. 18, 19. We've got a high PDOP, but that's probably because we're still searching for satellites. Now, one of my strategies for getting a fix is just to sit here. You know, sometimes it could take 5 or 10 minutes to obtain a fix because the satellite is constantly searching, because the receiver is constantly searching for available satellites. So I'm just going to sit here for at least 5 minutes and let the PDOP come down and let the receiver find more satellites. I'm also going to walk back to where I was before after 5 minutes because I got a fix over here, and I feel like if we got a fix, we could get it back. So let's try moving one time, letting it connect up, and seeing what we find here. So we've got a 1.3 PDOP, which is really good. We've got 26 satellites, several of them are green. That's really good. And the last thing I'm going to do is turn off our correction service and turn it back on. It says receiving corrections. So let's just sit here in the status and be patient for a few minutes and see what we can find. All right, so we're back and we're in a nice open area here. We have a fix and it seems like we have a pretty happy Emlid receiver. So we'll go to Survey, Plus. Now before you measure, let's check some settings. So first of all, we're going to say tilt compensation is off, fix only, precision limit is off, stakeout off. We're going to average 90 seconds, 1 minute, 30 seconds, because instead of taking one shot, we'll take 90 shots here. Save. Next, height. This is a 2-meter rod, which is 6.562 feet. Save. And then we'll put in our point number, 1000, and description, golf course. Why did we lose fix? Probably because of the poor network in this area. But we're fixed, and I'll click measure. Let this run for 90 seconds, and it will automatically collect the point. And you should see the point on the Emlid app. So we'll let this run for 90 seconds. And if you lose a connection in between starting measurement and the 90 seconds, it will cancel whatever you're doing. So let's move a little farther out still. So we're fixed. I'll click measure. And let's let this thing cook down 90 seconds. And for the sake of the video, I'll change it just to instant. So save. And now you see 0.1000 on the screen and the R for rover. So we're going to walk away from this point and you can see the little black dot, which is called golf course and has 0.1000. And that's it. We're ready to go surveying and your Emlid rover is set up for use. Let's get started.